Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I've got another Dark Horse Studio Proteus book that I found all but one issue of at Second and Charles. I don't know why all these things that I got all had one issue missing. It's so frustrating. But this is CHRONOWAR by Kazumasa Takayama, an artist I've never heard of, but really, really cool art. I feel like this set a precedent. This came out in 1996, so I feel like this set a precedent for a lot of the visually must have been influenced on a lot of stuff that came out later in the 90s, especially from Top Cow. I think of like The Darkness and Witchblade, and what was that other book by Joe Benitez and Walter Simons? I think it was called Weapon Zero. Just really influenced, I think, by the way the tech works in this book. I don't know. There's probably other manga I was unaware of that was influencing that stuff, but that seemed to be a real influence. As with all the Studio Proteus books, really good reproduction for the time. I mean, it's printed on newsprint, but it's held up well, and really cool art. The story's pretty fun as well. Um, in the art, there is a bit where, like, right here, I've tried to express this in other videos, especially when I'm talking about Otomo, that sometimes Otomo's work gets a little, I call it gummy. His isn't as bad as this, but right here in these shadows, it's like they went back and just colored in too much instead of getting all of those line weight changes with just like one stroke of the pen. They go back and color it in too much, and it just looks like, to me, well, I say gummy or tarry, is it looks like there's a crack in the road and someone squeezed tar into it. And so those kind of moments in art as I've gotten older really bug me. I used to do that stuff all the time, and I used to love artists that do that. But I feel like that's something that Otomo got away with, and a lot of people that came after him kind of picked up on it as well. And then that's evolved into modern manga where there seems to be a lot of that. And we're doing an episode about Lone Wolf and Cub with Matt Battaglia. He said Otomo won, and that freshness of line that's in the, like, not finicky lines that's in Lone Wolf and Cub or like Blade of the Immortal, I think, yeah, kind of lost a little bit, which is too sad. And overall really good. Obviously Otomo influenced art. Faces aren't as great, but I think that's the biggest thing that I've noticed as that chain of influence goes down, is that more and more people spend too much time coloring all the lines and closing all the gaps and not leaving any like holes in between the lines and making sure everything touches. And that's just a sign of a little bit less confidence in artists. It's something that's taken me forever to get over. But anyways, the opening book here is just like this chase of a criminal, and then this thing comes in from outer space and lands, and like boom, and here you can really see the influence from Otomo and Akira. This cool like destruction cityscape. So all of that kind of stuff is really well drawn, and then you get these like cybernetic bug creatures that latch on to. There's a police officer, the criminal he's chasing, and then this woman that's just kind of incidentally involved. Then you get some good wreckage scenes, not quite Akira level, and then pretty much from there you have these three characters just finding out what these alien cyborg things attached to their body are. They've like slowed down time for these characters. There's a really Akira looking panel. They've slowed down time for these characters. The cop has lost his mind. The bad guy is kind of the good guy, and they just kind of have this battle for like the full eight issues that I have. Eight. I think I'm just missing issue 9, or we'll see. But that's kind of what's going on. They're at an accelerated time that's moving 100,000 times faster than normal. So everything around them is frozen, and they're kind of just having this battle out through that. Nothing really worth talking about in this issue. Like it's kind of the same thing. It's really cool, but like with the Legend of Mother Sarah, I feel like this probably was a longer series, and they were just doing a print run of the first, 9 issues that make the first story run, just to test the waters. And then I don't know if anything else came afterwards. Obviously, I didn't finish because I don't have the last volume, the last issue of it. But it just feels like typical decompressed manga storytelling. That's fine. I like it. But it seems like there's no way this wraps up in a simple conclusion just at the end of 9 episodes. But I mean, look at that spread. That's really, really awesome. And this cool cybernetic bug creature that latches onto them, and they're just learning more about the world where these creatures came from. A lot of really cool use of the tones throughout here. And then here's where it really looks like, this looks like a Witchblade to me, an early Witchblade or Weapon Zero. This page with like the naked lady with all of this like tech stuff crawling all over her. But basically speeding up to that time has made this cop character lose his mind, and the bad guy character is a better, here's another good Witchblade. He's a better representative, able to handle aliens. Here's another really cool page. It's mostly just art, cool use, really, really nice use of the tones to get values. But just really some awesome scenes here. So another one of these ones where story, whatever, it's cool. I feel like it should go on much longer, probably did. I wish I could get a full run of this, especially if it went past volume 9. But the art on it's really cool. Yeah, I got up to issue 8 and issue 9 was missing. So who knows? Who knows where that one issue went? There's this funny scene here where he's fantasizing, and I just love that hunched over jerking off guy. They're trying to say, oh, this guy has sexual fantasies about you. And she's like, yeah, so what? He's human. So I don't know. I just like that. I like how manga over exaggerates things. I think I want to do that more in my art, like focus more on exaggerated expressions, cartooning a little bit more. And God knows why I even tagged this page. It's not that even if a body in the memory's the same, it's still not me. Maybe she'd be the same to you, but I am here and now the only one. Oh, they're talking about cloning a copy of the brain. I remember why I put that there. I've been reading also, and you'll see a review of it, Juan Jimenez's deluxe. So a couple of Juan Jimenez's sci-fi epics. And I've been thinking a lot about the difference between like how the European artists tend to handle science fiction, which is very influenced by Star Wars, just these big kind of like super future where you can't even relate to it, space operas, and there's not really any hardcore science in any of it. Whereas in the manga, at least the stuff that Studio Proteus was translating that we've been reading, like Shiro and Akira and all of these Legend of Mother Sarah and all these books that I've grabbed, I feel like the Japanese are always more like hard sci-fi, where they're really thinking about the impact of technology. They're thinking philosophically about identity, things like that. So, like, yeah, you could transfer my mind, but it's not me because it's not the same body. So I think I really quite prefer that. It's way more thoughtful. And I think it was one of the things that was a deterrent to me as like a 13 or 14-year-old when this stuff was coming out. I would pick up manga and it just didn't make sense to me. Like I remember reading Ghost in the Shell, and a couple other things, and it was just, and Akira, and it was just like too heady for me at the time. But now, obviously, like I appreciate this. So I really appreciate that about Japanese science fiction in general, as opposed to the European stuff. And I'll talk about that again when I'm looking at that deluxe Jimenez book.
One of the best ways that you can support what we're doing here on the channel is to support the books that Sean's putting out through Living the Line. The first book that he put out is The Strange Death of Alex Raymond. It's a collaboration between Dave Sim and myself. The book was recently nominated for an Eisner Award in the Best Reality-Based category. It's a deep, deep dive into the artwork and methods of Alex Raymond and the mystery surrounding his death in a car crash. So if you haven't grabbed that already, please do. There's also Yokoyama Yuichi's Plaza, which is a totally intense manga by an artist who has somehow figured out how to distill manga down to its purest essence. This book was successfully funded on Kickstarter, but if you missed the Kickstarter, you can order it through any comic store, any bookstore, Amazon, any place that you would normally get your graphic novels from. The Abolition of Man is a 5-issue mini-series done by myself and Sean in collaboration with the Midjourney AI. What you're seeing here is the cover to issue 1 and the first couple pages of issue 1. This first issue, we fed it an essay by C.S. Lewis, and this is just the imagery that the computer spat back at us. Issues 2 and 3 are a narrative, starting with the story that I wrote when I was 21, and then Sean's going to write issue 3, picking up where I left off. In this one, I'm kind of trying to force the AI to give me the images I want, and then doing some tweaking in Photoshop to get these kind of colored looks on it. For issue 4, we're turning the task of writing over to the AI as well. So the AI has written the script, and then we've just put that into the Midjourney AI, and it's turned out art. The script and the art is some of the absolutely most horrific stuff I've ever seen. We're a bit scared to even publish this issue. And I don't have any art to show for it yet, but Sean and I have decided to do a 5th issue of Abolition as well, because we have someone who we're really, really excited to have on board, providing an essay for that 5th issue that we'll illustrate, and we'll announce more about that soon.
Thanks for following along. Take it away, Jack.
You want to see all these books? Smash that subscribe button and the like button and the bell, and then you get them.